What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Make sure you guys please like this video and subscribe and share this video with all of your book loving friends, and make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at Andrew Marlowe Artist. Just real quick, we're wearing our Quote the Raven Edgar Allan Poe shirt today. It's way too big, but I just wanted to get this on camera, and I'll probably start rocking it because it's a really nice shirt. It's just kind of baggy. A beautiful shirt though. So today we are here for an analysis of the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. I hope you guys will enjoy this. Lao Tzu is an ancient Chinese philosopher born around 500 BC. So what we have with the Tao Te Ching is just very, very profound but simplistic Chinese philosophy. It's very hard to go wrong with this. And this is something that you will read throughout your life endlessly. You know, you'll pick it up and you'll kind of get through it like I did. But there will be certain sections that will stick out to you, and they will haunt you for quite some time, for many years to come. And there's really no, exact or perfect way to approach it. You should definitely read it from the beginning to the end, but then you can sort of annotate like I did, and then you can kind of reference back to your most favorite passages. And I think the most special and what Lao Tzu does really well, the most special thing about his Tao Te Ching is the way that he forces you to confront aspects of yourself that you may be trying to avoid, or that you can most definitely improve, almost like Marcus Aurelius does, or the way Christ does in the Bible, or the way Lame Deer does in Lame Deer Seeker of Visions. So we have basically, we'll just kind of go through some of the best passages here from Lao Tzu, and we'll kind of talk about which ones resonated with me the most. Let's start with verse 2 here. We have, everyone recognizes beauty only because of ugliness. Everyone recognizes virtue only because of sin. So simple yet so profound. And there's a large emphasis on virtue versus the act of not forcing virtue. Seems to be a concern with Lao Tzu. And we have some references that we'll get into that really stuck out to me. The sage acts without action and teaches without talking. He gives but not to receive. He works but not for reward. He completes but not for results. So also with Lao Tzu, you get a huge emphasis on non-action. Basically, sort of like the old Bukowski saying, don't try, right? Let things come to you. Don't overanalyze. Don't force things. Don't try to force somebody to be with you. Don't try to pursue fame and fortune and riches and all that kind of stuff. Easier said than done, right? But very so simplistically profound. Verse 3 here, putting a value on status will cause people to compete, hoarding treasure. Hoarding treasure will turn them into thieves. Showing off possessions will disturb their daily lives. And I've seen so many people in my own life, my personal life, they can often be so vain and so focused on the exterior, and what's important is not the exterior. What's important is what's on the inside. And I think that's kind of what Lao Tzu is getting at. Thus, the sage rules by stilling minds and opening hearts, by filling bellies and strengthening bones. So there's also a sort of a concentration on how to lead, what makes good leadership. Now, obviously, Lao Tzu was sort of referring to the Chinese realm of leadership and stuff like that. And there are some references to warfare and stuff like that. Basically, the Tao is the never-ending substance of life itself. And he says Tao is limitless, unborn, and eternal. So we have an emphasis on Tao. You guys can do your own research on Tao. Let's see here. When acting, remember, timing is everything. Sort of like he who hesitates is lost, right? Something I'm trying to master. One who lives in accordance with nature does not go against the way of things. He moves in harmony with the present moment, always knowing the truth of just what to do. Imagine being able to accomplish something like that. Being able to accomplish action within non-action, within not overthinking, within not being paranoid about how people are going to perceive you, without worrying about stumbling on your words, right? So that's another wonderful thing about Lao Tzu that I want to encourage you guys to read, is sort of the act of non-action and not overthinking. You're obviously, that doesn't mean you just lay in bed all day and do nothing. No, but it means you don't try too hard. Obviously you're going to be trying to do something profound in your life, but as far as trying to impress people or say the perfect thing or make the perfect gesture or whatever it is, that's never going to happen. So you have to fall into sort of the Tao ideology of non-action, basically ebbing and flowing and being able to respond to virtually anything without getting sort of stuck in your head and feeling nervous or ridden with anxiety, right? As your wisdom reaches the four corners of the world, can you keep the innocence of a beginner? Wow, I just really love that. Sort of the act of maybe not becoming a master, right? Or even if you do become a master, having that lust for creativity, having that lust sort of to start at point A and enjoy the journey that goes all the way to point B, C, and all the way to Z, right? Know this primal power that guides without forcing, that serves without seeking, that brings forth and sustains life, yet does not own or possess it. So it's very different than the Christian worldview, right? The Christian worldview is more about being responsible to God, answering to God, God being sort of this, omnipresent ruler. And if you perform right and you do the right actions, then you sort of get the golden ticket to God, or right, so on and so forth. But there's also a Christ sort of component to this, walking with love, walking with, the act of giving, walking with non-ego. There's sort of a non-action sort of aspect to Christ, the New Testament and all that stuff. So Lao Tzu may have been inspired by Christ, and also probably vice versa. I'm not sure exactly who came first. I'm a little rough with dates. So he says here, Wu is nothingness, emptiness, non-existence. So we definitely have that emphasis of confronting existence and action versus non-existence versus non-action. What's the perfect path to take? What's the most fulfilling, and exactly what is that? Be wary. Excuse me, this air conditioner's messing up my throat. Be wary of both honor and disgrace. Endless affliction is bound to the body. Honor is founded on disgrace, and disgrace is rooted in honor. Really interesting stuff. Both should be avoided. Both bind a man to this world. That's why it says be wary of both honor and disgrace. So he's sort of confronting the ego through the guise of honor and disgrace, right? If you love something, perhaps in this case yourself, on a fundamental Taoist sort of spiritual level, you won't be affected by the outcomes of honor and disgrace. If we can get rid of those two sort of virtues, then we won't be constantly comparing ourselves, right? And that's kind of what he's getting at there. Some great stuff in here. The great ruler speaks and his words are priceless. I thought that was kind of interesting. If you need rules to be kind and just, if you act virtuous, this is a sure sign that virtue is absent. Thus we see the great hypocrisy. Reduce what you have, decrease what you want. So, sort of like giving up your possessions, perhaps, or living a more, what's the word I'm looking for? I keep wanting to say this word. Living a more frugal life. I kept wanting to say fruitless or something, but frugal. Being frugal, that's a very Tao thing, and that's something that Lao Tzu encourages us to do time and time again. Surrender brings perfection. The crooked become straight. The empty become full. The worn become new. Have little and gain much. Have much and be confused. I love that. Have little and gain much. Have much and be confused. And I can kind of relate to that, because I do have a lot of possessions. I have my books, and I have my art, and I have my notebooks full of writing, and those are different than just expensive. Those are, books are priceless. Books feed my spirit and my knowledge, and my mental capacity and all that stuff. And obviously my writing and my art, that fuels the food of my soul. So that's a little bit different than sort of earthly possessions. But every possession you have does sort of tie you down in a lot of ways. What if we could face ourselves and not rely so much on material possessions? Really great stuff. Speak little, hold to your own nature. It's sort of like the 48 laws of power. What is it? My brother and I used to call it the no speak policy. I forgot what Robert Greene calls it, but Robert Greene definitely got a lot from the Tao Te Ching, as you can see. How much less so the efforts of man. The wind and rain are from heaven and earth, and even these do not last long. So something else Lao Tzu is encouraging us to do as readers and philosophers is to sort of contemplate our own immortality, right? Or our own mortality is what I mean. It's either mortality or immortality is sort of what he's forcing us to think of. And obviously, in terms of while we're on the earth, while we're in our physical bodies, we're mortal. We're not immortal, but in the grand scheme of the Tao universe, the Tao philosophy, we ebb and flow, and things are so transient, and we get so overly fixated on things that are not focused on the present moment, and that's the problem that's the root of our suffering. Allow your life to unfold naturally. Know that it too is a vessel of perfection, just as you breathe in and breathe out. Sometimes you're ahead and other times behind. Sometimes you're strong and other times weak. Sometimes you're with people and other times alone. I love that because it's so true. Gabriel Bocanegra used to talk about the cycles of life, and things just kind of happen over and over and over again. But what does it all mean? That's what you kind of have to ask yourself. To the sage, all life is a movement towards perfection. So what need has he for the excessive, the extravagant, or the extreme? Really great stuff there. Hold fast to the great form within and let the world pass as it may. Then the changes of life will not bring pain, but contentment, joy, and well-being. Music and sweets are passing pleasures, yet they cause people to stop. How bland and insipid are the things of this world when one compares them with Tao. One tastes, but the sweetness turns bitter. One sees, but the color grows faint. One hears, but the sound fades into silence. And that's something that I've sort of written about in my novel that's going to be coming out in the next couple of months. My philosophy of it is a little bit different, but this just kind of relates to it. I talk about things are always better before you actually have them. The love is better before it's kiss. The pregnant mother is always most happy before she actually has her child. There's something to be said for the anticipation of something. Before you fall in love, it's always much better than when you actually fall in love, because when you do fall in love, that's when things go downhill. We all know that, especially for men. So we have this sort of duality of appreciating the present moment and not trying to get to the next step all the time, not always trying to get ahead, jump over that mountain. One may look for fulfillment in this world, but his longing will never be exhausted. The only thing he never finds is that he himself is exhausted. The only thing he ever finds is that he himself is exhausted. Really great stuff here. Let's see here. So I did make a little note here. A little note to the social justice warriors here, or the far leftists, or anybody that stands behind any kind of political cult. I like this. Tao does not act, yet it is the root of all action. Tao does not move, yet it is the source of all creation. To give without seeking reward, to help without thinking it's virtuous. And I just wrote, this reminds me of social justice warriors. To help without thinking it is virtuous, therein lies great virtue. To keep account of your actions, to help with the hope of gaining merit, therein lies no virtue at all. So that's so true. We live in this overly politicized state where everybody wants to take sides and everybody wants to raise their hand and say, I support this marginalized minority group, or whatever the case is. I support abortion, or I support this, or all these kind of satanic things that kind of pull us away from God, right? pull us away from Tao. You know, I'm getting away from Tao even just thinking about all those political things. The highest virtue is to act without a sense of self. The highest kindness is to give without condition. The highest justice is to see without preference. So really, just really profound stuff all over the board here. Who knows what fate may bring? One day your loss may be your fortune. One day your fortune may be your loss. Man, that's just so true. It's so awesome, and it's so awfully true. Stillness benefits more than action. Silence benefits more than words. Rare indeed are those who are still. Rare indeed are those who are silent. And he's not talking about a timid kind of nervous silenceness, a squirmy silence, a sort of a paranoid silence. He's talking about a stoic silence, almost like a meditative silence. One's own reputation, why the fuss? One's own wealth, why the concern? I say, what you gain is more trouble than what you lose. Great stuff there. You'll have long life and endless blessings. Something about the Tao there, but just really great stuff here. No greater curse than desire. No greater tragedy than discontent. No greater fault than selfishness. Contentment alone is enough. Indeed, the bliss of eternity can be found in your contentment. And that's something that I'm trying to practice, is being content in the present moment, not always wanting more, not always wanting something more, not always wanting someone more, not always wanting something better, not always thinking about what I don't have. It's easier said than done in this fast-paced society. I think juxtaposed with ancient Chinese society, it might have been a little easier to adapt to some of these teachings, right? Let's see here. One who embraces Tao will become pure and innocent like a newborn babe. Deadly insects will not sting him. Wild beasts will not attack him. Birds of prey will not strike him. He is oblivious to the union of male and female, yet his vitality is full. His inner spirit is complete. So that's sort of like mastering your masculinity, mastering your sexuality, sort of. Not giving into lust, right? And that's something I've been trying to practice over the last few months. Things in harmony with Tao remain. Things that are forced grow for a while, but then wither away. So just really great stuff here. One who speaks does not know. One who knows does not speak. Become one with the dust of the world. This is called the secret embrace. One who knows the secret is not moved by attachment or aversion, swayed by profit or loss, nor touched by honor or disgrace. He is far beyond the cares of men, yet comes to hold the dearest place in their hearts. So we'll probably leave it at that. I don't want to read you every single passage, but that is a wonderful introduction that will hopefully spark your interest to read the Tao Te Ching. It's very short. It's very, almost biblical. You can read it as scripture for the rest of your life. You could read one section a night before you go to bed, or as the sun is rising the next morning. Or perhaps you can bring it to work with you when you're feeling stressed. That's actually a good idea. I should do that. So learning, what's Lao Tzu trying to get us to do? He's trying to get us to, obviously there's some superficial things like not being focused on wealth, not being focused on material things, not being focused on lust. And those are hard things to do in this day and age, obviously. But they're also hard things to do with sexual beings and sort of narcissistic sexual human beings that we all are. We have that form of narcissism and the survival mechanism. So it's not detaching you from the survival mechanism, but it's sort of encouraging a way of balance within life that doesn't demand so much of you in terms of always having to do something, always having to say something, always having to buy something, receive something, always having to touch or eat something, or constant pleasure, constant overstimulation like cell phones and social media addiction. That's why we got off social media the past couple months. So there's something to be said about non-action as really the fruitfulness of what makes you happy. So hopefully you guys will be encouraged to check out the Tao Te Ching. We'll close out this video just before 20 minutes. I think that's perfect. Just going to make a quick thumbnail here. And we will see you guys next time.